The author of Eat, Pray, Love, Elizabeth Gilbert, went through an identity crisis after she released her book, which is ironic because Eat, Pray, Love was about finding herself after a relationship. But now she's lost herself. How? Well, with the success of her book, Eat, Pray, Love, she became well-known, famous in her own right as a writer, and there are a lot of eyes on her life, and her creativity, her inner compass started to suffer. She started to feel like with all the publicity and how much her life was changing, all the attention and expectations and the responsibilities was more than she anticipated, and she lost herself. This concept of losing yourself is not unique to her. It can happen to anyone, even those who are very successful. You may be a high achiever, you may be successful in life and still feel like you don't know who you are anymore, or like you've lost yourself. This is common with trauma survivors. Those with complex trauma may have grown up in a household where they weren't able to develop in all ways, especially their individuality, and they had caregivers that were unkind or harsh or unpredictable, that they didn't feel like they could just be themselves around. They didn't feel like they could just express defiance. They didn't feel like they could disappoint their parents. And so as a result, they developed a skill that would allow them to survive, the skill of pleasing others. But pleasing others is appeasing others, so what they really learned to do was to manage other people's emotions to keep themselves safe. You see, if mom can't handle being upset, then you're going to do everything you can to keep mom from being upset. If dad doesn't handle his anger well, you're going to do everything you can to keep dad from being angry. And now what is the life skill you have developed? Well, to manipulate people into not feeling negative feelings. But is that really a life skill? Well, initially it could seem like it. But what actually happens is you end up neglecting your own emotions in the process of managing other people's emotions. You end up being false, not real, not authentic. And essentially you are a manipulator of other people because you're trying to manage their feelings and emotions so much that, well, there goes the truth. There goes what's real. There goes who you are. And everything that comes front and center is, what do other people need? What do other people feel? And you're just trying to make sure they're comfortable. And so you've actually lost a very vital life skill. The life skill of knowing yourself, of keeping yourself, of not abandoning yourself. I guess that's a few life skills. But most importantly, if you want to be able to solve this, then you have to develop the life skill of being able to disappoint others. So analyze for yourself for a moment. What is it that's keeping me from being able to just let people down? If you feel like you've lost yourself or like you're not totally centered, like you don't know who you are, then what's really happening at the core is that there's someone in your life that you're worried about pleasing. And so you're abandoning yourself, even in a slight way, to please those people or that person. There's someone in your life that you're worried about pleasing. As I mentioned, pleasing people is appeasing them. So that whole concept in itself of pleasing is based on a childhood understanding of what's really possible. A child feels like, I can make my mom happy, I can make my dad happy, but in reality, can you make another person happy? Go ahead and give yourself a second to meditate on that. Reality is you cannot make anyone happy. You cannot make someone else happy. Gotta let that sink for a minute, because if you can't make other people happy, then what in the world are we doing with all this pleasing? Like I keep saying, it's appeasing, meaning to satiate, to just let a person be pushed back, satisfied, right? For the moment, numbed out. So what you're really doing is not making them happy in any way. You're just trying to prevent them from snapping or getting upset. Whatever it is that you're afraid of. Sometimes you could be afraid of rejection, that the person's going to leave you, abandon you, or that the person just emotionally will reject you. Whatever the case, it's all manipulation, and it's you playing false. to appease a person. Just saying that you are an appeaser, does that sound like who you want to be? It really carries a weakness to it, that you appease others. It comes from a place of weakness, a place of desperation and scarcity. Think about how desperate a person has to be to walk around appeasing everyone or appeasing anyone rather than just being real and authentic to themselves. Well, certainly you don't want to continue being an appeaser of others. So we have to develop the life skill of doing the exact opposite. You see, if you were raised in a household with parents that were good or just better than yours, imagine they were stable. So when you express defiance, individuality, disagreement, or disappointed them, they handled it well. Imagine that. Imagine your parents handled it well when you did something they didn't like. They might say something like, okay, well, you'll have to face the consequences of your own decision, and walk away. Allow you to actually make some of your own decisions as a child, as an adolescent. Can you imagine? Well, what could happen for you growing up in that environment is you could learn to develop your voice. You could learn that you can rely upon yourself to make decisions. You could learn to look within for what's best for you. You could learn that you're safe when you let someone else down or disappoint them. Imagine learning that lesson, that you're actually safe letting someone else down. So that's a lesson that needs to be learned now. And we learn it the same way we would learn it as children, only now we have to learn it out in the wild instead of in the protection of our household. So the way you would have learned it as a child is by practicing defiance, by saying no and being yourself, and then finding out that you're safe in doing so because people aren't going to abuse you or abandon you. So likewise, that's what you're going to do now. You're going to say no. You're going to go and disappoint those people or that person that you're afraid of disappointing. And what you will find is at the end, you're actually okay. You're actually okay. It is not generally unsafe to let people down, to disappoint them. It's other people's responsibility to manage their own emotions. So you have to let them do that and stop managing it for them. If these people are still toxic, like it's still your parents that you're trying to please, or your toxic spouse or something like that, toxic adult children, you still need to disappoint them. You also need to get away from them because they're holding you back from knowing yourself, from being yourself. That's not a healthy relationship. So look for the exit. But in the meantime, you still need to disappoint them. Of course, you're just going to have to brace for a bigger blowback because they're not healthy people. So yeah, they are going to try their best. But you have to be able to have a defiant attitude. A defiant attitude is take your best shot. Go ahead. Whatever happens to me, I'll figure it out. I'll get through it. Many of us are really afraid. We're living in fear. But no more of that. Same if your fear is of rejection, face it. Face it. Go and disappoint those people. Face the potential that they could leave you, that you could lose them. We cannot live in fear. We cannot let fear be the guide of our life that puts us in that desperate state and that we're weak and appeasing. No more of that. So how do we find ourselves? We're going to go out and disappoint people. Does that make sense? You're not going to please. You're not going to appease. You're going to disappoint. And you're going to be deliberate, like you know it's disappointing. But as long as it's authentic to yourself, then the moment you're done disappointing them and you let the chips fall where they fall and the dust settles, you will realize something. You will realize exactly who you are. In that moment, you will have found yourself. And I want you to experience that feeling. You could lose friends, but you will not lose yourself.